If you still haven't tried Strategic Sword, you're missing out on quite possibly the strongest weapon in Where Winds Meet. With just the base weapon alone, its powerful martial skill Inner Track Slash applies a deadly bleed damage over time, which will stack to tick over even more pain. At the maximum 5 stacks, they can be exploded for a devastating high bleed burst with the special skill Inner Balance Strike, hitting in the high thousands. That's only half the story. Its dedicated Inner Way Sword Horizon fundamentally transforms the weapon, adding to its moveset. It gives both the skills and the charged attack the ability to apply and burst the bleed stacks, which essentially triples its damage output if not more. This is essential to fully unlocking Strategic Sword's true power. And it doesn't end there, because we've got a whole other weapon to complement it perfectly. You can get 50% more damage out of your Strategic Sword high bleed bursts by taking advantage of the synergy built into Heavenquaker Spear, truly maximizing your Bellstrike Umbra OPness. Upon breaking through your Heavenquaker Spear to the higher tiers, you will get access to the Soul Shaken damage over time enhancement that the charge skill Drifting Thrust places on the enemy. The debuff stacks up to 5 times, lasting for 10 seconds, with each stack increasing damage over time done by 10%, but also the high bleed burst damage by 10% as well. At a full 5 stacks, this is a 50% increase on an already devastating move hitting in the high thousands. All you really need to do is the charge skill Drifting Thrust with a spear first. However, you can try this rotation by first using the Strategic Sword's martial skill Inner Track Slash without the final follow-up granted by Sword Horizon, switching to Heavenquaker Spear and using its martial skill Sober Sorrow, before charging the Drifting Thrust, applying the 5 stacks of Soul Shaken, switch back to your Strategic Sword and spam the special skill Inner Balance Strike with the full follow-throughs until endurance is exhausted, by which time Inner Track Slash should be off cooldown and can also be done to completion with the full follow-up. That's the theory behind the Bellstrike Umbra synergy. You now have the mechanics behind the rotation and you can put this into practice. All that's left is a solid build that complements and ties this all together so that you can get that damage nice and high. The first and most important Inner Way in this setup is the Sword Horizon Strategic Sword specific Inner Way, which fundamentally transforms the weapon's entire moveset, allowing you to perform an additional input after the martial art skill, the special skill, or your charged skill, casting a move called Crisscrossing Swords as a powerful flashy follow-up finisher. It has the properties of your special skill in that if your target has 5 stacks of bleed, it'll remove all of them to deal high bleed damage all at once. This is absolutely crazy because effectively you have 3 combos that have been boosted with an additional move, all of which are capable of doing what your special skill alone could do before, which is to explode all of the bleed stacks. You are now going to be constantly proccing the 5 bleed explosion. Not to mention that the additional move is very powerful by itself anyhow. In order to obtain the Sword Horizon Inner Way, you need to make your way over to the Ghostlight Market. You can do so by entering the coffin at nighttime in the southeast section of Kaifeng. Make your way through the market until you arrive at the antique bookstore, the Buried Tomes. You can't really miss it, the shopkeeper is sitting upside down on the ceiling. Each of the unknown old books has a chance to be a Sword Horizon page, of which you're going to need 10. You might not need to buy all 30 of them, but I did, so do be prepared to spend 375 big ones. Next, we've got another legendary Inner Way. We're going for Morale Chant, which gives you an 80% chance whenever you are attacking or healing to get 1 stack of Yi River, increasing your damage and healing by 1% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. You can only proc it once every 2 seconds, and at tier 1, which we're going to upgrade it to, it will also increase your physical penetration by 2. Whilst a 5% damage and healing increase with 2 physical pen might not sound like much, it really adds up. Super simple to get, just find the merchant Tang Bao in Blissful Retreat. Once it's destroyed, he's just right by the gate, selling you the Morale Chant tomes for 500 Jade Echoes each, of which you'll need 10, costing you 5,000, unlocking the Inner Way there and then. For the breakthrough pages, teleport to the Harbour Link Crossing waypoint, bound towards the east of the Kaifeng region. He'll be right there selling them for 200 Jade Echoes a pop, costing you 2,000 for the whole lot, letting you break it through to tier 1 for that 2 damage pen. This third one is nice for some additional synergy, but isn't actually required. Wolf Chaser's Art, reducing the combo count required for Sober Sorrow from 510 to 48, with a 20% chance per bleed stack on the enemy to get double the combo count, of course being 100% at maximum 5 stacks. The tome to learn this Inner Way is found in a chest towards the end of the Heavenquaker Spear Sanctum, which is where you'll also unlock the Spear martial art. The entrance is located east of Wildmane Ranch, and it does require you to cough up one of your dragon keys, so use them wisely. And for the final slot, this this one is somewhat open as well, I've gone for Insightful Strike, but if you want to take Bitter Seasons or something else, that is fine too. Upon dealing affinity damage, which of course will be dependent upon your affinity chance, you will generate focus. When focus is full, you will enter a concentration state for 10 seconds, during which your affinity damage increases by 10%, and when taking hits, there is a 5% chance you will reduce damage taken by 40%. So an excellent damage boosting and damage reducing skill. Yet another one that is super straightforward to obtain. Simply participate in the archery competition at Encircling Lake. You'll be up against Feng Ji Sheng and you'll need to obtain a grade A rating in order to get the tome. This is the fundamentals you need to make this work and get the most out of your strategic sword. I'm not overly focused on the gear because it's always being swapped out, especially as we're breaking through levels. There is tons of RNG involved, you don't always get the drops that you need, and even when you do and you're attuning them, you don't always get the right attunements. That's being swapped out plenty as well. With that being said, going for 4 pieces of the Hawking set can be very beneficial, at 2 pieces bumping up your affinity rate, and at 4 pieces increasing your physical damage by 10% at 5 stats. And you don't particularly have much control over your attunements, but you're gonna go for the obvious ones: minimum and maximum physical attack increase, minimum and maximum bell strike attack increase, precision rate up, affinity rate up, stacking power can also increase your affinity rate as well. Lots of fantastic choices, lots of right answers, don't sweat it too much. As I say, absolutely tons of RNG involved, we are cycling through gear really fast. Comprehending the principles behind how all of this works is so much more important and beneficial to you than being overly rigid about specific gear pieces per se. The example rotation I gave at the start is quite a long chain. It's best applied in the group content when you can really be focused on just getting damage out and not doing much else, where you can really get into the full flow of swapping backwards and forwards between your 2 different weapons, getting all of the moves out for the complete optimal rotation. You might struggle in solo play to get this one out, it probably feels more forced than anything else. That said, do remember that you don't need to do this full rotation, as the damage over time enhancement from the stacks of Soul Shaken are applied by the heavy charged drifting thrust, meaning that is the only core attack in the rotation in order to get the damage over time enhancement for the 50% increased high bleed bursts. You could just as well start with the Heavenquaker Spear, do the heavy charge drifting thrust, apply the 5 stats of Soul Shaken for the damage over time enhancement, switch over to your strategic sword, and hack away with all of your bleed abilities, your martial skill inner track slash all the way to completion with the Sword Horizon extras, your inner balance strike special skill, again all the way to completion with your Sword Horizon follow-up extras, and whilst this might be better suited to solo, you can of course apply it to the group play as well. Give this a spin, it should be everything that you need to truly tap into what the strategic sword can do. If builds and guides are your thing for Where Winds Meet and other games too, you can drop me a sub. This is the sort of stuff I love doing on the channel. You might have already caught some of the other builds, some of the other shorts, but either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.